Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to World Perspective News. A geopolitical earthquake is spreading from Washington to the Baltics, triggering a dramatic shift that is shaking the entire global chessboard. Donald Trump has unexpectedly pressured Baltic nations to reopen access for Alexander Lukashenko, a move that once seemed unthinkable after years of prolonged tensions. But behind this decision lies a reality that can no longer be ignored. The United States is being forced into a strategic reversal under mounting economic pressure. Fertilizer prices have surged. Global supply chains are fracturing. Pressure from American farmers is now reaching the White House, turning political calculations into secondary concerns. Meanwhile, Russia and Belarus are emerging as key players controlling critical supply lines, holding resources that the West cannot quickly replace. As strategic transport routes falter and markets descend into chaos, real power belongs to those who control commodities. Washington may have once built walls of isolation, but now, it is being forced to dismantle them piece by piece in order to survive. The balance of power is shifting, tilting toward nations that control the lifeblood of the global economy. Washington is being pushed back toward Belarus, a reversal that quietly acknowledges failure. The pivot is unfolding right inside the U.S. Capitol, carrying a clear message. America must re-engage with Belarus after years of imposing heavy sanctions on Minsk. What was once a wall of isolation is now being dismantled, not by words, but by numbers. The fertilizer market is in turmoil. Prices have surged by 30 to 60%, striking directly at the heart of American agriculture. As the Corn Belt begins to destabilize, Washington realizes the problem is no longer diplomatic, it is agricultural. Farmers need fertilizer, and they need it now. And on the global supply map, Belarus stands as an irreplaceable link. This shift exposes the true nature of the conflict. Principles, rhetoric, and political pressure quickly give way to economic necessity. When domestic interests are threatened, priorities change. Belarus, once isolated, is now becoming highly sought after. And in this geopolitical game, Russia and Belarus hold the decisive cards, without needing to make another move. Russia and Belarus now grip the throat of the global fertilizer market. Numbers tell the story. Together, they control around 40% of global potash supply, a critical component of modern agriculture. Without it, crop yields collapse, costs surge, food systems destabilize. Russia also dominates nitrogen and phosphate fertilizers, the three pillars of global agricultural production. This is not just export power, it is structural power embedded deep within the global system. Sanctions aimed at cutting off supply have instead triggered the opposite effect: reduced availability, rising prices, and pressure flowing back onto sanctioning nations. The global economy has exposed the limits of political decisions. When crisis hits, hardline rhetoric is tested by real-world demand. The Strait of Hormuz shock has only intensified the crisis. As Middle Eastern supply routes are disrupted, a massive gap emerges. And in that gap, Russia and Belarus stand as the only players capable of filling it. This is not a temporary substitution. It is the return of a supply center that never truly disappeared. The shockwaves have now reached the West's core economies. Shipping delays, rising costs, supply bottlenecks, prices surge uncontrollably. Fertilizer is no longer just an agricultural input, it has become a strategic asset. Domestic policy tools are no longer enough. The market is being squeezed from the outside. American farmers are now pushing back, hard. Fertilizer costs have risen 30 to 60%, turning production into a survival equation. Across states like Iowa and Illinois, farmers face brutal choices: cut production, accept lower profits, or take on debt. Each option carries risk, and that risk spreads across the entire agricultural system. When millions of hectares are threatened, the issue becomes political. Lobby groups mobilize, pressure builds, voices reach Congress. The message is clear: the White House must act, immediately. And so Washington adjusts. Geopolitics gives way to economics. The mission becomes simple: secure supply, fast. And that leads back to one place: Belarus. A U.S. envoy has now arrived in the Baltics, carrying an economic mandate. The objective is clear: restore fertilizer flows from Belarus. Diplomatic language may sound soft, but the meaning is unmistakable. Supply must resume, pressure must ease, Now, the Baltics face a dilemma. Lithuania, Latvia, ports like Klaipėda and Riga are ready. Infrastructure is in place. Businesses are prepared. But politics is stuck between two forces: economic necessity and political alignment. A decision must be made. And the outcome is becoming clear. Economics is forcing politics to bow. This entire chain of events, from Hormuz to American farmland, reveals a harsh truth. When economic survival is at stake, political positions will shift. And in this shifting landscape, Russia and Belarus are not reacting. They are shaping the game. Transition. Second part: tone. A deeper shock is now emerging, exposing a brutal truth at the heart of global alliances. The so-called security umbrella of Washington is no shield. It is a lightning rod. Those beneath it do not avoid conflict. They attract it. From the Middle East to Europe to Asia, a pattern is forming. Military bases are not just symbols of protection. They are targets. Alliances are not just promises of defense. They can become invitations to conflict. Modern warfare has evolved. The center of power stays safe. The consequences are pushed outward. And in that system, allies become frontlines. End tone. The world is no longer defined by ideology alone. It is defined by control of resources, supply chains, and economic survival. And in that reality, the rules of power are being rewritten.